Good morning, guys. We're going to jump back into our social studies curriculum book. Okay. So, what you are going to need for this lesson is you are going to need your school to home social studies packet, which should be in the blue Holly Heights folder in your binder. Okay. And you're going to read along with the screen with me here in our social studies textbook. Okay. When you take out your social studies packet, okay, you are going to take a look at the beginning. Remember, in the beginning, we have all of our social studies vocabulary. Okay, so flip until you see chapter 2, and chapter 2 is called Communities Are Places. Okay, and we're talking about lesson 1 here. Now, again, I have actually written down the vocabulary for you for this chapter, or actually for this lesson. But our next lesson next week, if you take a peek at the next page for lesson 2, you can see I did not write down the definitions for these vocabulary words. This is where I want you guys to start taking over and writing down your own definitions. So as I go through the lesson and I read it to you and I hold up our vocabulary card, you might need to pause the lesson next time so that you can write down the definition. Okay. But this lesson, I still did the vocabulary for you, but I think we're getting ready where I can pass that responsibility on to you. Okay. So let's take a look at our vocabulary words first. Okay. So that we know what these words mean before we get into our reading. So you're taking a look at your paper. Our first vocabulary word is the word location. Okay. And when we're talking about a location, we're talking about a place where a community is found. Okay. That community can be a city, a state, a country, a continent. But the location is where it is found. Okay. Our next vocabulary word is the word mountain range. Okay. What is a mountain range? It is a large group of mountains, and mountains are the highest kind of land. Okay. Big, big mountains. Our next vocabulary word is the word continents. Okay. What are continents? Continents are the largest land areas on Earth. Okay. And we actually have 7 continents on Earth. That is North America, South America, Africa, Asia, Antarctica, Australia, and Europe. Okay. Very important that you will know all 7 continents. And we'll work with that throughout the year so that you can memorize them. Okay, our next vocabulary word is the word globe. What is a globe? It's a model of the planet Earth. We have a globe in our classroom. Our next vocabulary word is the word hemisphere. Okay, what is a hemisphere? Well, let's break that word down into its part. Hemi means half, and sphere means ball. So a hemisphere is half of a sphere or half of our planet because our planet is a sphere. Okay. And when you take our planet, if you cut it in half vertically, you have the western and the eastern hemisphere. And if you take our Earth and you cut it in half or horizontally, you have the northern and the southern hemisphere. Okay, so taking a sphere, cutting it in half, that's a hemisphere. Okay, you need to turn the page on your vocabulary page while we keep going with our vocabulary. Okay, our next vocabulary word is equator. What is an equator? An imaginary line that is halfway between the North and South Pole. So if we have our globe, right around the center of it is an imaginary line which splits the globe into hemispheres, the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. Okay. And that imaginary line that goes around the very center of our Earth is called the equator. Our next word that we're going to look at today is the word map. And that's going to be our skill that we work with this lesson is reading a map. We're going to work on that tomorrow. So what is a map? A map is a picture that shows the location of things. And there's lots of different maps out there. Street maps, country maps, state maps. It all depends on what you're looking at. Okay, our next vocabulary word is the word nation. What is a nation? It's a country with its own people and laws. Okay, so the United States is a country, the United States is a nation. And the last vocabulary word we're going to look at today, I know there's more there, but they're going to go along with our lesson tomorrow when we talk about maps. So our last one that you need to worry about today is the word border. And what is a border? A border is a line on a map that shows where a state or a country ends. It shows where those two locations are next to each other and how they're divided. Okay? Alrighty. So that is your vocabulary word for this lesson. So let's take a look up on the screen at our text. The very first part of our lesson here is a picture, okay? And remember, when we take a look at our picture, we always read our caption. And along with our caption, there is a little tiny map there that is showing us on this map the location that we're talking about, okay? So this picture is Pineville from Pine Mountain State Park. The community of Pineville, Kentucky can be seen from Pine Mountain State Park in the eastern Kentucky mountains. This small city is located on the Cumberland River, the 16th longest river in the United States. So you can see right there on that small little map that they have of the state of Kentucky, you can see where Pineville is located. It's almost there on the border of Tennessee, but it's still in Kentucky. And like they told us in the caption, it is in one of the mountain range areas of Kentucky. All right. And you can see there with the trees and everything, the beautiful mountains and everything. And then down below the mountain is the city of Pineville. So you can see lots of buildings there, lots of roads, houses, possibly schools. But that is that community that is located in a mountain range of Kentucky. All right, chapter 2, communities are places. So when we see land as a community to which we belong, we may begin to use it with love and respect. So we're talking about being good citizens and being a good member of our community. And we need to be invested in that community and in that land for us to make sure that we make good decisions and to be a good citizen. Okay? So in this lesson, we're going to talk about drawing conclusions. Okay? A conclusion is something you figure out from clues in what you are reading. And as you read the chapter, do the following. List the clues and conclusions about locations of communities. We'll just kind of talk about that throughout our reading. Okay? So here we go. Lesson 1. Where on earth is your community? Okay, our big idea, places on earth can be shown on maps and globes. So if we wanted to find out exactly where our community was located, we have lots of options that we can look at. Maybe just looking at a globe wouldn't help us find Millville, but it would help us find our continent of North America. It would help us find our country of the United States of America. It would even help us find our state of New Jersey. But for us to get closer to see our actual community, we would probably have to go to a state map or even a city map so that we could see more of our community and exactly where it's located. Okay, here we go. Eyes on the screen and read along with me, please. Communities are different in many ways. One is their location. So let me hold up our vocabulary card again. One is their location or the place where they are found. Communities may be near rocky mountains or on flat plains. They may be next to flowing water or on dry desert land. So next our little subheading there in the orange, water and land. If someone asked you to describe where your community is located, how would you do it? You might start by saying what body of water or kind of land it is near. Okay, so we have another picture there. And this is a picture of the Pearl River in Jackson, Mississippi, and the city skyline. So if you lived in the community of Jackson, Mississippi, you could say, oh, well, my city is located right next to the Pearl River. That's giving somebody a location of the river so that they can find the location of your community. Our next picture, okay, is another picture of mountain ranges, which are covered in snow. And you can see right there in the left-hand top right there where it's showing us an actual picture of a globe, right? The round sphere, the globe. And it's showing us on the globe where these Himalayan mountains are. They're located on the continent of Asia. So the Himalayan mountain ranges include the highest mountains in the world. There is a lot of different mountain ranges on the face of the earth, but the Himalayan mountains have some of the highest locations on earth there. Your community may be near a river, a body of water that flows across the land. It may be near a lake, a body of water with land all around it. It may be near an ocean, a huge body of water that covers a large part of the planet. Earth's four oceans are the Pacific, Atlantic, Indian, and Arctic oceans. And they've actually made a fifth ocean down by Antarctica. They actually call that the Southern Ocean. So nowadays, we don't just teach that there's four oceans, we teach that there's five oceans. And we'll, again, work with that as we work with our oceans and our continents. Your community may be located on highlands or lowlands. It may be near a mountain range. So again, what's a mountain range? A large group of mountains. Mountains are the highest kind of land. They rise high above the land around them. Plains are the largest kind of lowland. They are flat or almost flat. The largest land areas on Earth are called continents. The 7 continents are Africa, Antarctica, Asia, Australia, Europe, North America, and South America. And if you're wondering, the continent that we live on is North America. So let's take a look at this other little picture here in the circle. Okay, we see the difference here between mountainous type land and lowland. Okay, mountains go up high, lowlands are flat or almost flat. And in this little circle here, they also gave us another little map there that is showing us exactly the land that we're looking at. And this land is located on the continent of Africa, actually in Kenya, Africa. So in the little blue caption right there, it tells us that plains in Africa can stretch for miles. So now you see the difference between mountains and plains. All right, on to our next page. On a globe. To show someone which continent you live on, you might use a globe. A globe is a model of the planet Earth. Because it is round like the Earth, a globe shows the true shapes of the oceans and continents. A globe can be divided in half to describe locations on it. Another way of saying half of the globe is to use the word hemisphere. Remember what we talked about earlier. Hemi means half. Sphere means ball, the shape of a globe. One way to divide the globe in half is to cut it along the equator. The equator is, let me get that card out, an imaginary line that is halfway between the North Pole and the South Pole. If you cut the globe this way, you get a northern hemisphere and a southern hemisphere. So again, if we look over at that picture there, we see a couple of kids looking at a globe, looks just like the globe we have in our classroom. And you can even see there how the globe is tilted a little bit. And we'll talk about the tilt of the earth when we talk about seasons. But you can take a look there and you can see right in the center of that globe, there is that imaginary line which cuts the globe into the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. Okay? And our little caption in blue underneath the picture says, these students are using a globe to find the location of their community. All right, so if we go down here, we have a nice little graphic source here, which is showing us 2 different globes, okay? So remember when you're looking at a graphic source, the first thing you want to do is look at the title. The title is there in that blue oval, that dark blue oval. So what are we looking at? Dividing the world into northern and southern hemispheres. So if you take a look at the picture on the left there, it's just a picture of our globe. It's showing you that red imaginary equator that goes around the center. It's showing you at the top of the Earth where the North Pole is, showing you at the bottom of the Earth where the South Pole is, and it's showing you where one of our oceans is located, the Atlantic Ocean, and it's showing you 5 of our continents: North America, where we live, South America, Africa, Asia, and Europe. Okay, so now follow that red arrow over to the globe on the right. They're showing you exactly where the equator is. Okay, that center red line that goes around the center. So if we take that and we separate those two halves of that globe to the top of the equator, to the north, towards the North Pole, that's all the northern hemisphere. And below the equator to the south, that's all the southern hemisphere. So if you take a good look at that graphic source, you can see that our continent, North America, is located in the northern hemisphere. All right, moving on down. Another way to divide the globe into 2 hemispheres is to cut it in half from the North Pole to the South Pole through the middle of the Pacific Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean. So now we're not cutting it horizontal, we're cutting it vertical, okay? If you do this, you get a Western hemisphere and an Eastern hemisphere. So again, we're still taking that sphere and we're cutting it in half, but this time we're cutting it in half vertically, up and down, not horizontally side to side. So that'll give us a Western hemisphere and an Eastern hemisphere. And we'll take a look at that there at the bottom. Every place on Earth is in at least 2 hemispheres. North America, for example, where we live, is in the Northern Hemisphere and also in the Western Hemisphere. Okay? So I'm going to go down here. I'll go back up so we can read that biography. But let's take a look at this graphic source again. Kind of looks like the one we just looked at, but the information is different. So again, look at the title there in that dark blue oval, dividing the world into an Eastern and Western Hemisphere. So again, on the left, you have a picture of the globe, but this time that separating line that we're going to use for our hemispheres is going vertical, up and down, cutting it from the North Pole to the South Pole, right down the Atlantic Ocean. So if you take a look there, you can see again that North America, where we live, is going to be on the Western Hemisphere. Africa and Europe and Asia are on the Eastern Hemisphere. Okay, let's go back up here so we can read this little biography sidebar that they put in here about a gentleman called Matthew Henson. Okay, Matthew Henson was born in 1866 and he died in 1955. And the character trait that they want us to know about him is cooperation. So what's cooperation? That's where you work with somebody to reach a goal or to fix a problem. Okay, so on April 6th, 1909, Matthew Henson and Robert Peary became the first explorers to reach the North Pole. Henson's friendly contact with the Inuit, the native people of the Arctic, had helped them reach their goal. So he was very instrumental in them reaching the North Pole because he had a relationship with the indigenous people that lived in that area. Okay. And remember, when we talk about a biography is a story about a person's life. Okay. All right, let's move on down here. We got another map to take a look at. And this is a map of the world. Okay. And if you look, they're kind of taking that sphere shape and they're making it flat now. So you can see that, I mean, and it's not to scale, but they do the best that they can. It's kind of like in a oval shape. Okay. And on this map, you can see all of our continents and all of our oceans. Now, just remember, it is missing an ocean because down there, right above Antarctica, at the bottom of the map, there is the Southern Ocean, which that's kind of changed over the last decade. So that's not added in, but we will be learning that that area of our oceans is called the Southern Ocean. Okay. You can also see on this map that there is a compass rose, that little compass rose there, which shows you which way is north, south, east, and west. And we'll talk about that tomorrow when we get into map reading. All right, almost done. So on a globe is a better model of the Earth than a map. But a map is easier to carry. You don't want to walk around carrying a globe everywhere that you go. A map is a picture that shows the locations of things. A map can also show the whole world, the planet Earth and all the places on it, or just a small part of it. Because a map of the world is flat, not round like a globe, it cannot show the true shapes of the oceans and the continents. On the map of North America, you can see that the continent is made up of both large and small nations. And a nation or country is an area of land with its own people and laws. So on our continent, North America, there are quite a few different nations. There's the United States of America, there's Canada, there's Mexico, there's Greenland, there's Iceland. There's lots of different countries that are a part of the continent, North America. So there is a picture of just North America, like I said, and you can see the different nations that are part of it. Canada and the United States and Mexico are the largest nations in North America. The borders of a nation or state show its shape. A border is a line on a map that shows where a state or nation ends. The map above shows state borders in the United States. It also shows some national borders. So you can see there the real thick line between Mexico and the United States there, that is our country's border, okay? And then again, up at the top with Canada and the United States, you can see our country's border. And then inside the United States, all those other lines are our state borders. That's where our states start and stop next to each other. And you can see New Jersey all the way over there by the Atlantic Ocean on the eastern coast. All right. So that was what we were going to talk about today. Now, tomorrow we will talk about our skill, which is reading a map. So as long as you have all of your definitions, or no, you're not writing the definitions down this week. You're doing that next week. Again, make sure that you understand what these words mean. And then tomorrow we will look here at our skills about reading a map, and then we will do a page in our packet together. All right, guys, you're doing a great job, and I will see you later.